I started drinking is what I started when I was really young, about 10 years old. Then I started, experimenting with marijuana and mushrooms, stuff like that. But I guess I was 14 when I started using cocaine. And I lived on the streets of Winnipeg at the time. I'd been in and out of foster homes and youth detention centers, stuff like that, but I was a runaway. So, but the first time I guess I ever tried crystal meth, I was 19. I was actually visiting my aunt in California. So it was very popular there at the time, and it was it was called crank. That's what it was then. Now I've used crystal meth. I am 9 months clean right now, but I was using, I guess for 14 years, I used crystal meth on a daily basis. Stealing copper and scrap metal just to get the drug. I mean, food didn't matter. Nothing else mattered. And that's what it becomes. I've seen meth use rise tenfold. It's unreal, actually, sitting in court, because we go every Tuesday. Sitting in court, at one time it would be maybe 1 in 5 people were there for crystal meth. Now it's 3 out of 5.
I started smoking weed when I was like 13, just because, just for something to do, I guess, to rebel or defy my parents. And I mostly just stuck to weed through high school. And then after high school, when I moved out on my own, that's when I got into everything else pretty quickly. I started selling weed, and then very quickly progressed into coke and crack and acid and ecstasy, meth and mushrooms and DMT and pretty much anything I could find. With everything else, you still want to mix drugs. So when I was smoking a ridiculous amount of crack, I'd still want to smoke weed, I'd still want to do ecstasy and still do acid and everything else, right? And same with all of those other drugs. Then for some reason meth, it just ruins everything else. Weed no longer had the desired effect. It made me sick. So I didn't want that anymore. As far as stimulants go, there isn't really anything better than meth. So nothing else is gonna give you that wakeful alertness, and with coke and with crack, there's way more mind you, since meth has become more mainstream, it's also become less pure over the years, right? But I mean, coke and crack have been around for so long that so many people know all the different ways to cut it to make it not as pure, right? And then and the shit that they cut it with is what ends up making you super sketchy and feeling shitty, and then that feeling is what makes you want more, because you're chasing that high that you never quite actually get. Whereas meth would give you that high that you actually wanted to get, right? And you wouldn't necessarily have that super sketchy, right away glued to the windows, looking over your shoulder kind of feeling. Just doing drugs is a decision that everybody makes for themselves. Not doing them has to be a decision made for yourself.